Hello everybody, I'm Steve and welcome to Greenside Up, the home edition. Hopefully this is the last one from home for a wee while, because I believe now that the roads are clear. I've seen footage of the roads clear and I'll be back down the allotment from tomorrow. Yes, finally, because it will be missing me as much as I'm missing it. But anyway, I've had a couple of emails about my heated propagator bench in here, and all I've been able to do so far really is just scrape away a bit of the sand and show you the heating cable and the thermostat, and that's all. So what I'm going to do is, because about 4 or 5 days ago, just after New Year it was, I had a problem with this bench, and I come in the morning and it was stone cold. Now at first I put it down to that we'd had extreme low temperatures overnight, but it wasn't the case, because my little frost heater in here was still working, so there was still power. And anyway, I messed around with it for about a day and I finally got it up to start to heat. But that wasn't before I went online and ordered myself a new cable, because I thought it was faulty. And it might still be faulty, but I thought this would be an ideal opportunity to show you what these look like. This is 75 foot long. Now they're not cheap, but when you compare them to the price of what I would call a very decent propagator now, a Visopod about this size, which are a few £100, this was 90 quid, and it will make me a propagator 8 foot long by 2 foot wide. And this is the wire that you stretch out. You can see it's flexible, and you just literally lay it out probably at that distance apart, and you make little clumps of sand in the bed, and then you cover this whole thing in sand. Now what I'm going to do is, I did at the time when I made this, I did take some photographs, and I've managed to find them this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little piece of footage with the photographs, and I will talk over those photographs at the same time, so that once and for all everyone could see how this thing works and how I've made it and put it together, so that if anybody wants to follow along they can. So we'll run that now, and we'll go from there. So to start making this propagator, I first made a very simple bench with a bit of board at the bottom and some surrounds, and that's about 6 inches tall there. Next I lined it with some very thick plastic. This is damp proof membrane, and I paid extra attention in this bit to make sure it was into the corners and down at the edges properly, because I was going to be putting something else on top of this. Made sure it was right into the corners, all folded neatly and stapled in. As you can see here, this is all nice and neatly stapled in right into the very corner. Next up was to line the base of it with some polystyrene sheet. I got this from B&Q, cheap as chips, and it's 1 inch thick, and then I lined up the sides as well. This is why the plastic sheet needed to be nice and neat, so this would lay flat, and eventually those bits will be pushed to the side by the next step. So I put 1 inch of sand in here. This is just an ordinary builder's sand, and it's just slightly damp, just so I could shape it and flatten it out in the bottom there. And this adds to the insulation. This is now part of the heating part of the propagator, and the soil warming cable will warm that, and the sand that I put on top. So I've laid the cable now along it, and you can see it's going backwards and forwards, and every time I put a new layer down I just put a handful of sand on top just to hold it its shape until it was all fully laid out. It was all measured. I knew how much of a gap to put between it, but it's just to spread the heat through, and then I've just put a layer of sand on top, nearly filled the tray up now, and now the sand underneath and the sand around the heating cable and the sand on top now become your heating elements, part of the propagator bed, so the whole thing heats up and stays warm. And there we go, that's it, it's all done, and that's as simple as it gets. I did put another piece of sheet on top, which just folded up the side slightly, another piece of plastic that is, and that was so that I could, when the plants were in trays on top of it, it would hold a little bit of water, and that's handy for keeping the plants moist and stop it from drying out. The only other thing I did was I've added a thermostat to the whole system. The thermostat is plugged into the mains. the heating cable is plugged into the thermostat, and the thermostat has a probe which you poke into the sand or into the soil in one of your pots or trays. You set the thermostat up to the temperature required and it heats up at that and then cuts out. And the only other addition I've got in the greenhouse is a small frost heater, just to keep the frost off the rest of the greenhouse. And in this final part here, I've just added a simple frame up on top of it, on top of the bench propagator, and I've used sheets of bubble wrap to go around it, just to keep the air inside and to keep the plants in a humid atmosphere. Now this is a sort of a triple laminated polytunnel, not a polytunnel, bubble wrap, but it's designed and sold for insulating greenhouses, so it's got 3 layers, so it's nice and thick and it does the job very well, and it's very easily just to fold back and get at your plants and then close it up again. So there we go, that's it, that's as simple as it is. The thermostat is somewhere between 75 and 80 quid, and the soil warming cable is about 90 quid. So yeah, it's about 160, 170 quid, somewhere around there for that. But when you consider that you've got an 8-foot by 2-foot propagating space that's temperature controlled, that you've made yourself and functions and will function for a long time, then you know it's pennies. I don't know what the cost is to run it. I've been asked this several times. It's something I've never monitored, but the way I see it, I don't go out drinking, and it helps my hobby of gardening. So I don't really want to look into the cost of it. I don't run it all year round. I just run it through the winter. So there we have it. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, I need it. I use it a lot, and I get a lot from it. So it's good for me. So there we go. One simple, very cheap propagator. Right, I've just had some seeds delivered, and these are from Simpsons seeds, and I've ordered a couple of packets of red Grenoble, which is the first one. They're all salad leaves, these, by the way. Red Grenoble's the first one. Lettuce Sadawi, which is a red oak leaf. Then these tend to be French ones. Lettuce Rouge de Hiver. Must practice my French pronunciation. And this one is tolerant of cold. So lettuce Freckles, which goes without saying. And this is a strange one, but it seems to be popular. Lettuce Grosse blonde Paresseuse. Pronunciation is fat lazy. I don't really want to say it, but it's lettuce Grosse blonde, fat lazy, yeah. But anyway, I don't think that's any way to talk about a blonde person. I didn't want to put all 3 words together in case YouTube banned me for saying it. But anyway, I'm sowing these 5 varieties, and I'm just doing it in this little tray. I'll probably only a few little lines. It's just for me early season, to get me early season salad stuff going. I've already sowed some. If I'd have known they were this difficult to open, I might have cut and refilmed when I'd opened them all. So I'm just going to palm sow them into these little I've made little divots in them with a piece of glass that actually broke off the greenhouse up there, and that's it. There's probably about 20 seeds in there, and that's literally all I'll do. And then I'll put them on heat and get them going, and that'll be 5 salad seeds on the way. These are the red Grenoble. These are my favourites. I mean, you can grow these at any time of the year, and they're a very popular seed, so you might struggle to get hold of them. And it was due to trying to find a supplier of these that I actually ordered off Simpsons seeds, because they were the only place I could find who actually had them. Okay, I've opened all these seed packets now. It's a pet hate of mine with seed packets that don't open properly. And I normally do them off camera and then magically have them all open when I'm filming. So I'm just palm sowing these into this little tiny tray. I've moved you in a bit closer as well for a closer look. Not that you can see much really when my hand's in the way like this, but that's the lettuce Freckles. Lettuce Freckles, lovely green leaf, green leaf with freckles on it. Lettuce Sadawi, a red oak leaf lettuce. Can be picked as single leaves or as a whole head. I'll go for the single leaves every time, I think. I'll see if I can turn this round and show you how I'm doing it. Don't normally sow with my right hand. There we go. You can see why I don't sow with my right hand. I'm all over the shop there. So yeah, I'll just cover them, water them lightly and leave them to germinate. Prick them out when they're done. And the last one, the Grosse Blonde, the fat lazy thingy. This gives a big green head, which I'm taking it and hoping is why it's called fat. But there we go. As it says, huge light green heads. So there we go, that's salad leaves done. Just want to water now and put on the propagating bench behind me there. Okay, so that's it really from the greenhouse for a little while, hopefully. Back at the allotment tomorrow. Gosh, fingers crossed that I am. I really hope so, because there's lots I must get on with. But there's some salad leaves sown amongst all the other salad stuffs that I've sown over this last week or so. So I've made a start on sowing my seeds, getting things going up here. So now I just need to catch up down at the allotments. Hopefully you enjoyed that bit about the propagator, and it'll give you an insight of where to go if you want to make one of those. As for cost for running it, I really couldn't tell you. I've no idea. It's not something I've monitored. The way I see it, I don't go out drinking, so that's my little vice, if you like. So that's it, and what a godsend it is for getting things going at this time of the year, you know. So just remains to say, stay safe everyone, please look after yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow at the allotment, I hope. Fingers crossed everyone.